1. Vampire killer? I barely know her. This and other jokes on Fragments of Silicon.
All right, welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon. Like, um, I'm your host Adam, and joining me, as always, is the regular crew. Mac is not here this week.
I am right here.
Oh,
Oh,
hey,
yeah. New
Mac.
Skype is a
Even
pain in the
s-
ass.
Yeah, you.
I've even spoken 3 times
Yeah,
and
I
nobody
heard you.
acknowledged me.
Oh, oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Mac is here. He was just hiding over there in plain sight.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair
You're
enough.
all fired. Show's over.
Like it's new Skype. It does like it goes into like so many people now. Anyway, so with that in mind, let's get to the news. Let's see. Well, Mac, what have you been doing?
Well, I've acquired the projector screen and LCD projector necessary to do my backdrop for Tucson Comic Con. We got in. The campaign was, of course, successful, and I have my booth partner set up. So now it's just a matter of getting all the merchandise together and actually selling stuff at the table to recover my losses.
Oh man,
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
if worse comes to worse, you only need one kidney, right?
Well, I don't know if I'm going to break even or not. We'll see. I call this Tucson Comic Con Neo because this is only the second or third year since the new administration has taken over. And so I really don't know what to expect. First year we went, it was great. Second year, not so much. And that was because they've been doing some we'll call it improvements. Basically, the guy who owns the show or originally founded the show was a comic book shop owner in the rustic downtown area of Tucson, and his business got foreclosed on because they needed the space to put the light rail system through.
Oh boy.
Ah,
Yeah, so he got eminent
darn.
domain.
Yeah, I was gonna say darn that eminent domain.
Plus, I think there was some other personal complications, quite possibly with the spouse or whatever. And so basically everything went sideways. And so nothing was handed out until 2 days before the con. I think this was 2015. And so we got there expecting it to be a full house. And there were about 37 empty tables across Artist Alley and the dealer room. So it was just a bunch of guests didn't show up. Some of the higher end people didn't show up because they didn't get their packets in time. So they was like, well, I'm not going to bother going to a convention that yada yada yada. And so they hired a firm up in Phoenix to manage it. And supposedly it's been smoother, but the cost went up significantly. So I got in this year and it was after tax $195 for the table. Woo! And so that's my bar for entry. And I haven't even bought copies of my books or anything. But at least I won't have to get a silk screen backdrop made because I'm going to be bringing a projector with me. Of course, that means I need to get a power drop, and that's going to be another interesting matter, to put it nicely. Yeah, either that or I'm going to have to buy a high-end battery backup, fully charge it, and then just run my laptop and the projector off of the
Just go get a
remaining
diehard with
parts.
reserve cranking power. You'll be fine.
Do you need / do they have available internet access?
No, I don't believe so. Well, I mean, the Tucson Convention Center allegedly has internet access, but I'm not paying them for it. That's crazy.
Okay, no, I was just curious because that's a thing that some vendors have had trouble with at PortCon is getting the internet to work.
Well, the internet is irrelevant if I don't have power.
True.
I mean, I would have battery on my laptop for a few hours, but this needs to last from open to close, so it's kind of significant.
Yeah, I'm just even talking about stuff like POS systems that some people use, which if you're not using is
It would
fine.
be run off of my phone or my tablet. You guys got to get with the technology, kids.
Well, some
Yep.
people were not able to get their tablet to connect to the internet.
Yeah, well, I have unlimited data with Sprint, so that's not an issue for me. So yeah, we've got that going on, and so it's just the 3-month mad dash to the end, basically, to get the whole thing set up and get there, make sure that we have actual stuff to sell. Which again, I have an extraordinarily limited budget, and I already blew my crowdfunding points just getting the tickets in the first place. So getting merchandise crowdfunded is going to be fun, I think. And it's not going to happen from my existing fan base. I think I've already tapped that well a little too hard. So kind of like Nestle. Oh, yeah, I said I wasn't going to get political today.
I'll have to ask what that's about in the post show.
Yeah, indeed. Somebody out there probably kind of sort of laughed, maybe. Other than that, nothing is really that special to report. Like I said, it's just a matter of getting all the stuff together and getting out there. And it's in town, so at least I don't have travel expenses.
Mm-hmm.
So next.
All right. Twilight.
Well, this week has been kind of rough for family-wise because one of our family members is in the hospital again, and been worried about that, and so far things are looking well, but I have to wait and see how that pans out. I haven't really had the heart to work on the one game I had for this week, and otherwise everything else is going all right, and that's about it.
All right. Galix.
I'm still holding down the fort. Hasn't been too much of a problem. I am preparing for the games for this week. I am going to be playing Pode some more with my friend on Friday, I think, and I actually picked up Xenon Valkyrie because it looked interesting, so I'm going to try and try that out some tomorrow. Otherwise, I've been playing mostly Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition and making some good progress on unlocking the characters that are in the easy adventure mode maps, and I'm getting close to the end of story mode, so that's been fun. It's still really humid here, and it's been super hot, but the heat kind of broke today, so that was nice. Or at least a little bit this evening, so maybe I'll be able to sleep a little better. I think that's about it.
Ogre.
It's been kind of a quiet week so far. Not much has happened. I picked up Crossing Souls for the Switch the other day, and I'm trying to get that. But then stuff in 14 happened, and it kind of got hard to focus on like everything.
Have you fought Rathalos yet?
Yeah, we did last night.
Cool.
We still need to do the extreme version, though.
Yes, we do. I'm in Pagos right now.
Have fun with that. I'm probably never going to get there.
It's very nice looking. It's very snowy and all that. Let's see. We finished up that dungeon explorer game.
I,
It was pretty fun in the end. So, time to move on to new stuff here.
or,
Other than that, not really a whole lot going on, so.
Teddy, you're up.
Well, I think I've been overdoing it a little bit in the pool because, like, Tuesday morning, I woke up and I felt like I was fucking dead. Like, my legs hurt, my shoulders hurt, and I just wanted to go sleep for another week.
Like, how much more work do you have on the pool?
It was more just, like, working out too much. As far as, like, pool work, all it really is now is just making sure we don't get any more algae growing and scooping out the leaves.
Yeah. Like, welcome to pool maintenance.
It's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. I mean, it would have been better if, we didn't set it up and find it was 6 inches off level and had to fix that.
No doubt.
Let's see. I want to try, like we said in Ogre's thing, we did the normal version of the Rathlos fight, and I want to see about doing the extreme version. Because that one gives the mount, and I wouldn't mind riding around on a baby Rathalos. As far as gaming news goes, I don't think I have a whole lot to report, other than I'm debating getting Puyo Puyo Tetris. But it would pretty much take about all I have in my bank account right now. And there are other more important things that I need to deal with.
It's pretty fun, but it's not like you're gonna die without it.
Yeah.
Don't you already have the game?
Me? No.
Like, like, or was that like you rented it last year?
No.
Like,
Because it was one of those I was going to rent, but I think they ran out. And I've just been, like, bouncing around. It's still sitting in my queue for the PS4 version. But it's like, there are other games I have right now, like Digimon World Cyber Sleuth or whatever the hell it's called. It's a Digimon game. And yeah, I think that's about it.
all right. I guess it's my go. Well, my week was fraught with peril. Ever leave a pen in your shorts or jeans?
Oh.
Yeah, like that happened.
This is why I don't use pens anymore.
like, yeah. I had to replace some wardrobe, but
I'd imagine.
The dryer got stained with ink. Maybe not stained, but there was ink all over the place. So that was not fun having to clean that, because getting rid of ink on a dryer surface takes some industrial strength cleaner.
Yep.
Like, closed spaces, not fun. But it's all taken care of, so...
The real question is, were you hearing Kellers and seeing sound?
No, nothing that bad. Knowing when to take breaks. Like, and also to let the place air out overnight. It's like, it's like, I know what I'm dealing with here.
Yeah.
I had to tell certain other people to not turn on the dryer because that might start a fire.
Yeah, that's generally ill-advised.
Yeah. But yeah, everything's about as back to normal as it can be. It's like, I think there's still some like faint stains there, but it's like nothing nobody's gonna notice.
And it's like, as
But
long as it doesn't rub off on the clothes, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I mean, it's secured.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I was annoyed having to replace clothes. But I've done that. It's just my wardrobe's kind of color limited until next month.
Mm-hmm.
Got a lot got a lot of 2-for-1 deals there. So there's a lot of blues and grays going on in the shirt department, and all my shorts are light colored again. But whatever. It's like, let's see. My sandals came in. My dock has come in, but I haven't set that up yet because I'm waiting for the batteries in my Xbox One controller to actually drain. Let's see. I picked up a few Nippon Ichi games on Steam sale this week. Phantom Brave and the first Disgaea. Yeah, they were going for $5 each. A little more than $5.
Are they still, or?
That's a good question. I don't know. I haven't looked. I think they might not be on sale anymore. Let's see. Also picked up Metal Fatigue, a new release from Night Dive. That one's going for $5. The Descent, not Descent, the Forsaken remaster is $20. I'm like, I'm not spending $20 on a game that's going to sit in my library for, however long it sits until I feel like playing it. It looks like the sale is over. Like Phantom Brave is back up to $15. That was like a week ago. So, maybe next time. This is why I put games on my wish list. So, I was told by the Steam email that these games are on sale. I'm like, they're probably not going to be any cheaper than that. So, anyway, I think that's all the news that is fit to print this week. So, merrily we shall roll along to the interview portion of the broadcast. And this week we are welcoming Anthony Marinello and Stephane Imbert of Katsu Games.
Hey, that's us. Hi,
Guys.
everyone.
Yes. So how are you both doing tonight?
We're doing great.
Man, we're doing fantastic.
That's good. All right. So we'd like to start our interviews by getting to know the people behind the studio, behind the games, and we'd like to start the proceedings by asking what got you interested in video games, both on a personal and professional level.
All right, I guess I'll start. So I'm Stephane Imbert. So that's kind of a long question to answer, but I'll try to keep it short so that Tony has time as well to tell you all about his fascinating story. On my side, what got me started in games was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, going to a friend's house and him having a computer and say, "Hey, do you want to check out some games?" I said, "Yeah." It was an Amstrad CPC for 6128, if you guys know that. If you're old enough to know those computers.
Or European enough.
Or European enough, correct.
Yeah,
that was in a small country called France. And, we played some games. We played some Galaxian, some Yara Kung Fu. And at the time, I was just amazed at the game. It was like, the fact that those very simple mechanics could evoke kind of a world and a story, and you were the player and kind of filling in the blanks. And so that got me very interested in games. And I started, playing more and more and trying to make my own games as well. I ended up going into software engineering at school because, at the time, making games wasn't really considered too much of a profession. So I needed to have some kind of backup plan. And every time I had an assignment in school, I was turning into a game. And that ended up convincing me that this was the path for me to go. And so I continued that way, got an internship at the end of my masters with Electronic Arts, and I've been making games ever since.
There it is. Okay, so this is Tony, and really similar story, right? I mean, just kind of grew up in the early days of home gaming. My first game console that I owned was actually not the Atari 2600, but the Atari 5200. That ill-fated system that we thought we were on the cutting edge buying. But that was it. And our first home computer was a K-Pro 2, if anyone knows what that is. Back in the Wild West days of home computers, it was a CPM operating system. So yeah, that was it. You know, again, just early memories of playing Breakout or Centipede on the Atari 5200, and then you know, on the home computer, you know, the old text adventure games, Adventure with a capital A, and Zork and that sort of thing. And back then, you know, you could get a book from the library that would have basic code just printed out in the library book, right? And there'd be like pages and pages and pages of code, and you had to by hand copy the code into your computer, and if you did everything right, then it would be a game that you know that you could play. And so, you know, would do that and would try to learn how to make my own games on the home computer. And, you know, that was just kind of what I did to entertain myself as a kid, and didn't think much about it as a career up until I got into college, and originally started out as a different major and then moved into computer science. And like Stephane, pretty much, you know, again, this was long before the days of there being, you know, game programs in universities, but anytime I could take a project and sort of gamify it, that's what I'd do. And so learned how to, you know, got a degree in software engineering, computer science, and like Stephane, pretty much straight out of college, got a job working at Electronic Arts. And so that's where he and I met in Florida. We were working at the Tiburon office, which people probably recognize as the Madden studio out there in Orlando, Florida. And my very first day at EA, Stephane, who was the an engineering lead, was assigned to be my buddy and show me where the bathroom was and everything. And so we have been working together pretty much every day since then. So it's been like 16 and a half years or something like that.
Like, and like, what time frame are we talking about working at the EA Triburon? Like, like what Madden titles did you work on?
Yeah, so I started in March of 2002. Stephane was there earlier, right? Were you just a year earlier or 2 years?
I was an intern in Florida in '98. Around that time, and I got back there in 2000 as a full-time employee. So my first Madden was Madden, the first Madden on the PlayStation 2. I think that was Madden 2001.
I think so, yeah.
And Tony joined for NASCAR 2002.
Yeah, so we worked on the NASCAR team. So this was back when EA actually did a NASCAR game, and it was a big you know, it was a big thing back in the day. In fact, EA actually sponsored the fall NASCAR race at Talladega, the EA Sports 500. So that was when NASCAR was really, you know, a big sport. And I mean, I guess it still is, but it's sort of it was really booming back then. So that was us. We were working on the NASCAR game. So we were on the NASCAR team for several years. So I guess NASCAR Thunder 2003 was my first title, you know, because they do the product year a year ahead of time. And then we did NASCAR 2003, 4, 5, 6-ish, kind of those years. So, you know, really starting off in that transition from PlayStation 1, the early days of PlayStation 2, Nintendo GameCube, and the original Xbox, and then sort of being with the consoles for the next generation, you know, as the Xbox 360 came through. You know, they called it the Xenon back before it had an official name. We still sort of mentally refer to them as by their code names, right? The GameCube I still think of as the Dolphin, and the Xbox 360 is the Xenon, and that sort of thing. And as the PS3 came along, we were at Tiburon for that. Yeah, we did that. So we were working on. We took a couple of years off from the NASCAR stuff to work on the Superman Returns video game as a movie tie-in, which you guys may be aware of. I know someone wrote Matt Peprocki wrote an article, I guess about not quite a year ago, for Polygon, sort of doing a retrospective on that game. And that was what we did, sort of as not quite a launch title for the Xbox 360, but really early on, we still were using development hardware or sort of pre-release hardware as that was being developed.
I'm like, yeah, there were a couple of Superman projects that got canceled. Like there was that. There was the Factor 5 Superman game. I think there might have been another.
Yeah, we could talk about Superman for a long time. It turns out Superman's a really kind of tough character to make a game out of. So we actually, our game was actually released, and it did okay. It's really interesting to see people's responses to it. Even now, like when that article came out, there were a lot of people saying, "Oh man, this is like my favorite superhero game," or "This is my favorite Superman game," which I don't know if that's saying a lot or whatnot. But it actually sold okay. But of course, when you're talking EA size expectations from the studio that makes Madden, which sells a lot of copies every year, and this is a movie tie-in, and it's Superman, who's you think is a very popular character. The expectations were so high that at the time it was very easy to sort of think of it as not so much of a success. But so it's nice to see more recently people posting on comment sections with positive things to say about it.
Like, yeah. EA's expectations for certain games and certain franchises are the things that very lengthy rants are made.
Yes, that's yeah. Certainly I understand that. So we're no longer with EA now, so we know certainly we understand it from the outside, and we also understand the those expectations from being within the company as well. It's interesting seeing it from both perspectives.
So backtracking a bit here, I do have a question about like working on Madden and NASCAR like year in, year out. Just how do you deal with that, considering you are not working on the same game but the same game type yearly?
Yeah, I remember when I was interviewing with EA, I asked them that same question. Like, you guys are kind of doing the same thing every year, right? Does that does that get to be a drag? And I've been talking for a little bit, so I'm going to let Stephane answer, and then I can follow up if there's anything left to say.
There will be plenty left to say, I'm sure. So it's true that you're working on the same game year in and year out. So you can think of it as kind of a reskin or just changing the stats of the drivers and the players, depending on if it's football or NASCAR. But the truth is there's a lot more work that goes into every year of a title. At the core, the game doesn't change that much. So you still have your stats, you still have stuff like that. But the UI is pretty much redone every year. There's new game modes being added every year. There's new improvements being made to the gameplay. So if you think of a yearly cycle, it's about really 9 months to make the game and 3 months of marketing and preparing and everything. At least it was at the time, because you had to make discs to get everything approved through the manufacturers. And in those 9 months, we were working pretty much full time on the game. There was very little downtime for those titles. NASCAR, for instance, again, the UI was done every year, different system, different look, different assets. The drivers, even if you think of it as it's only 43 drivers, and it's not a large field, they still change every year. The car skins look similar, but they're still different enough that somebody has to redo them every year. The car models themselves will change. NASCAR will change them slightly, and you have to make those changes because you have to be, if it's in the game, it's in the game, right? You have to be lifelike. You have to match the sports as best you can. For Madden, same deal. The uniforms are roughly the same, but they're still making changes year in and year out. So even if from a user standpoint or from a player standpoint, the game looks very similar, there is still a lot of technical differences and art differences that need to go into making the game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to follow up is from the inside, it really doesn't feel like you're doing the same thing. You working with the same code base year after year, but that's actually really nice because it gives you time to mature the code base and get really, really super, super familiar with it, and you can let it evolve. It's actually really nice kind of being able to be there and know the strengths and weaknesses of the code base, because if you're working on a completely different game every year, it seems like just when you've kind of gotten everything nailed down, like you moved into a house and you've sort of set it up the way you like it and you've got the artwork all nice, and then you have to move out again. Whereas when you're working on one of those iterative annual titles, you can just keep kind of polishing and grinding away. And if there's something that really bugged you last year that it just wasn't in the schedule to fix, hey, you know what? Maybe you can take care of it this year. And like AI is never complete. You can always keep tweaking AI and tuning it and trying to make the characters a little smarter, a little more lifelike, maybe a little more fun to play against, that sort of thing. And every year you have ideas. I guarantee every year there were a ton of things that we wanted to do that was on the list of goals for the game that just didn't get in and ended up on the cutting room floor. I mean, that's the thing, as Stephane mentioned, the player perception, and you'd get that criticism a lot of, oh, it's just another reskin, Madden 05 is just a reskin of 04 or whatever. But it's really not. It's really a ton more than just a roster update. In fact, we would, as people on the game team, we would say, you know what, I bet there's a real strong argument to be made for just doing that. What if we just do a roster update this year and sell the game for $20, and then we get 2 years to actually develop the features and have a really super strong feature set like on the off years. But that's how it is. And you have to understand with these games, especially the sports games, you're not just thinking of it as terms of EA as a company, but the NFL views Madden as their product, and NASCAR views the NASCAR Thunder games as their product. So they want to make sure that their product is being seen as new and fresh and updated and alive, and that there's something that is going to be a big value to the players every single year.
That's about what I expected, because I mean, I've heard the jokes of it's the same game every year, for I don't know, maybe as long as sports games have existed in yearly fashion, but like the games can change year to year, even if it's aesthetically, that still takes time. Like you might pick up a new sponsorship, like back in the PlayStation 2 era, the Madden game picked up ESPN,
right?
For example. Anyway, so I don't want to get too bogged down in the EA era. So I will ask, what precipitated both of yours exit from the company?
Let's see here. So I'll take that, and Stephane then can fill in. So we had been over time. We'd been working in Orlando, and then the opportunity came up that EA Tiburon was actually spinning off a small studio up in North Carolina in the Raleigh-Durham area, and both of us thought it would be a cool opportunity to try something new, be in a new area geographically, and help start up something kind of small and something cool, and go from a 500-person studio to a 10-person studio. Actually sounded pretty nice, and build that up. And part of the thinking was that North Carolina is the headquarters of NASCAR, so that this was maybe going to end up being the NASCAR team, and that's something that we had a lot of experience with at that point. Though at that point we'd done some other stuff as well. So we came up here and were part of the studio for several years, over which time, things evolved and the NASCAR license went away, and we worked on a bunch of other titles. We actually did did Madden for the 3DS as the Nintendo 3DS launch title up here in the North Carolina studio, which I actually just I saw an article the other day. I didn't realize it until this article pointed it out that the version of Madden that we did, which I was actually producer on, was the lowest rated Madden out of the series. So that's, I guess, something to not be proud of, but I guess note. But anyhow, and did some actually, since we were such a small studio, as the iPhone came out and smartphone gaming became a thing, we were a really good size to get into that. So we moved over into the EA mobile side of things with the Office and did some mobile apps. And after a while, EA opens and closes Office and consolidates teams, and they at one point about 5 years ago, they said, hey, you guys are doing great, your game is really successful, but we want to sort of consolidate some offices, so we're looking to move you to a different location. And we really like it here in North Carolina, and so we wanted to stick around, and the timing just seemed right for us to do our thing. We wanted to keep working together, and that's what we started doing. So looked into, we'd been in the industry for a long time and had some good relationships with people at this point sort of all around the industry, and thought that it was a good time for us to do our own thing for a while. So we started up Katsu Entertainment, and we've been doing that for not quite 5 years now.
So
it
How'd
was
that
also
go, Stephane? Oh
yeah, it was also a good opportunity for us. When you're in a large company, you touch a little bit of everything, but essentially you're in charge of one area of game development. Even if you're an engineer lead, you have a responsibility over the game, but you have technical directors you're working with, you have VPs of technology, stuff like that. So being able to be an indie studio allowed us to kind of be our own masters, and kind of things we had seen at EA that we didn't like, being able to improve upon that. Things that we had seen that we liked, being able to preserve those things and just create our own culture. Obviously in a much smaller team, but still kind of, okay, this side, okay, now that we know enough about how to make games, this is how we would move the studio forward.
And is that like the only difference between working at EA and like working the indie circuit?
No, there are a lot of differences between working at EA and working indie. The way you're making games is essentially the same. I mean, if you're working in a large company or a small studio, the art of making games is the same thing. The big difference is, obviously, as an indie studio, you don't have the backing of the large EA machine behind you. So you get to be in charge of everything, but you have to do everything. So things like that you take for granted at EA, like marketing or PR or IT or things like that, when you're at EA, you just write your code, you do your artwork, you do your game design, that's all you do. When you're an indie studio, you have to worry about all those other things. You have to go to events, you have to talk to people, you have to respond to the players online if they have an issue, if they want to engage with the developers. So you have to do all those things, which is very rewarding, but it's also a lot of time to spend on not making the game. So it's quite a bit of an adjustment.
Mm-hmm. Hello?
Yeah,
Hello.
we're still there.
Oh, yeah, you just kind of cut out there for a second. Anyway, so how many people work at Katsu Games currently?
That's a good question. We get that a lot. So, and our response is as many as need to. Really, that's part of our response to having been part of such a big company for such a long time. Is one of the things that we intentionally do is try and keep our team as small as possible. Of course, Stephane and I are always going to be a component of that, but it really depends on the need of the project. We have some really great people who we bring on and do have contract with us depending on what the needs are, whether it's some additional engineering or server work or artwork. We've got buddies that we've been working with for a long time that can be available for this project or that project or whatever it is. So at any time it could be it's still super small no matter however it is. I mean, I think probably the most we've had is 3 engineers working on a project and a writer and several artists. I'm thinking for Hello Kitty, Stephane, how many artists do you think we had?
For Hello Kitty, I think probably something like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So pretty small. And then for something like Sausage Bomber was just the 2 of us doing engineering, and then we had I think just 2 artists, maybe 3 artists at different times helping us out with that. And at one point we finally decided we actually hired someone to help us with level design, because we just coming up with 128 different levels it gets to be a real slog over time. So your creativity kind of disappears somewhere around level 30. So it's nice to have a little extra help. And then for Doom Wheel, which was our bigger release last year, again, both of us doing the engineering and design and that sort of thing. We had someone helping us out with some user interface design, and then we had a couple artists, a couple animators helping out with the visuals.
Yeah, generally we stay under 10 people.
Yeah, that sounds pretty typical for indie developers. Like, a project can be X amount of permanent team members and X amount of floating contractors, depending on what's being developed. Anyway, so you, from what I've seen here, your main focus seems to be mobile games, which makes sense given how long you worked at the mobile side of EA. And I guess my first question is, how is the mobile market doing it here in the year of 2018 for you?
Right. So we've been doing mobile more recently. It's not necessarily that we want to stay in that space forever, more that starting as an indie, it was kind of the easier space to get into. Smaller games typically were a little easier to get into with a team of less than 10 people. How is the space doing in 2018? Making games is probably easier than it's ever been before. Selling them is probably harder than it's ever been. The problem that you're getting on mobile is mostly getting people to know about your game. Just getting downloads is very difficult. There's a lot of games out there. There's a lot of very good games out there. And there's a lot of noise that you have to kind of get through in order to reach your audience. So that I would say is the single biggest problem we're facing as an indie studio dealing in mobile. In addition, if you go to events like PAX or any local convention that you have or conference that you have, a lot of the focus usually is on PC and console. That's where most of the players tend to gravitate. It's very rare to find mobile players at those events. So you have to resort to different channels and different ways of reaching your audience. The best way being, of course, being featured by Apple or Google, but that's for the most part outside of your control. Right. So making games, again, pretty easy. Getting your game out there and making it a commercial success, rather difficult.
Yeah, and it's recently gotten even harder because this is a bit of news that hasn't really transversed a lot of circles, but Apple recently moved to kill off the third-party affiliate program, which a lot of iOS reviewers use, like Pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And that was their main source of income, or at least one of their main sources. And so a lot of these iOS review sites are worried they might not last too much longer. And it's like these outlets are one of the premier focuses for a lot of developers to get noticed, because mobile is the ultimate endless ocean of content.
Yeah.
I mean, people just do not have an idea of how absurdly huge mobile is, like both Android and iOS. And, it's worrying that, there are so few outlets for developers to get noticed. And to further break it down, is it easier or harder to get a game like Doomwheel or Warhammer Doomwheel versus Sausage Bomber?
You mean like to get it noticed?
Yeah, Doomwheel is based off of a license, a very popular license. Sausage Bomber is your own original game, from what I understand here. Is there a difference in notoriety?
Oh yeah, there's a big difference. I mean, obviously, when you go with a license, that's really what you're looking for, right? Is because your expectation is that a licensed product has that built-in audience that already has an affinity for that product. So, when you put out a Warhammer game, there are people that are crazy for Warhammer, and it's a super great brand and it's a super great IP. And there's Warhammer stores all around the world where people go and buy miniatures and books and audiobooks and all sorts of cool stuff, and that know and love the universe. And so you have that built-in audience. So Doomwheel certainly is going to be more visible than something like Sausage Bomber is. And it's nice, but it can be challenging for a lot of reasons. One is even with that built-in audience, we found a lot of people who love Warhammer just didn't know about Doomwheel. Maybe they just weren't looking through the App Store necessarily for Warhammer games. Like if they saw it, they'd think it was pretty cool and pick it up, but it may not be something that they thought to sort of look through Google Play for. But we actually did on Doomwheel get some featuring from Google and Apple, which was really nice. I mean, it's always nice to get that vote of confidence, and Doomwheel won some awards. It won some Indie Prize awards and was featured at PAX East this past year for the Indie Showcase, which was really cool. But it's still just tough because, like you guys said, there's sort of this endless sea of not just mobile games, but just gaming in general is really tough. But the mobile game business is also really tricky because it's, we released both Sausage Bomber and Doomwheel as paid apps. And that's also really, really tough. The way the mobile space is these days is you've got this flood of not only sort of endless sea of mobile games, but there's an endless sea of free games that you can play on your phone. And they may have ads, or they may have microtransactions, or they could be freemium, or people gamers like to complain about that sort of thing. But at some point, if you have sort of an endless supply of games you can put on your phone for free, it's a challenging value proposition to go with a paid app. And we made a calculated move with that. We thought that the Warhammer brand and the sort of premium content and the type of game we wanted to make, it was just not a free game. And so we went with that. But it's a challenge. At PAX, we actually saw it firsthand where people would come up and they'd play Doomwheel and man, this is incredible. This game's awesome. I'm gonna pick this game up. It's out now. I can get it on my phone. Cool. And they'd pull out their phone and they'd go, oh wait, it costs $3. Nah, and just put it in their pocket and walk off and buy really a $7 convention hot dog. So
really hard to get people to spend money on apps.
Yeah. So it's tricky.
Yeah, it's hard to get people to spend money on apps up front.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Right.
It's hard to get people to spend money to download an app.
Yeah. Like when it comes to the in-app purchases, that's another story.
Yeah.
Now.
It's tricky, and and it's hard to tell. I mean, even we talk to people all around the industry, and at even the big companies, even people with big marketing teams and that do the analytics, and even if you're putting out a free game, anyone who's being honest within the industry will tell you, dude, we don't know. We don't know what's going to be a hit. They really don't. And you see that with PC and console as well, but it's especially super true with mobile gaming. You just don't know. Obviously, I mean, if you knew how to make a hit, and if it was just a question of sort of putting the right resources on it, then companies could do it more consistently. And there are a couple that obviously are at the top of the charts pretty consistently, right? You've got sort of your Clash of Clans and your Candy Crush, King.com games and that sort of thing. But by and large, it's really challenging. We were at a Casual Connect earlier this year, which is a conference for mobile game developers and service providers, and we were featured in the indie showcase there. We won an indie prize, and we're at that event with Doomwheel showing it off. And someone came up to me and was looking at Doomwheel and started talking to me and said, "Oh yeah, so this is an endless runner. How do you do this? Because we'd worked on endless runner and we found this to be a challenge. And how'd you guys work through that?" And so we kind of talked about it a little bit. And I said, "Oh, so what are you doing? You're here in the showcase too?" And they said, "Oh yeah, we're showing off this game." And I looked at it, I was like, "Wait a minute, this game, hold on, you guys, I've seen this game. You're like at the top of the charts. You've got like 15 million downloads. What are you doing talking to me?" And they said, "Yeah, we did. I mean, the game's been super successful. But we have no idea how it happened because we didn't do any advertising. We didn't, you could tell like there was this sort of they were super thrilled because their game was doing great, but they didn't know there was absolutely no guarantee that they'd be able to repeat that success or however long it would last or that sort of thing, because it just kind of came from out of nowhere. And if you don't know why a game's a hit, you don't know how to repeat it. So it's really it's really, really interesting.
So have you made any moves like towards the consoles? Like, would you say Doomwheel on the Switch as a example?
So the next game we're going to be working on, we are definitely targeting more of the console PC market, because we want to get back to our roots of kind of holding a controller in our hands for gameplay, because we both come from a console background. We have no plan of putting the current games on console or PC. The main issue when you're doing that, going from mobile to PC console, is it's very difficult for your game to be well perceived by the PC gamers or the console gamers. It immediately flagged as a port, and it comes in with a whole lot of baggage. So it's very difficult to make a mobile game successful on console or PC. You're better off releasing on console and PC first, and then putting it on mobile. The other way around doesn't quite work as well. So that's why we're not. We talked about putting Doomwheel on Switch or on PC. We think it could be okay. Actually, Sausage Bomber is available on PC now. We did the Switch for that one. But generally, we think it's better to just start on PC and console. And also, you want to get your gameplay targeted to the platform you're on. So Doomwheel is a great mobile game. Sausage Bomber is a great mobile game. They can both be played on PC and console. That would work fine, but it's not quite the full console experience.
Right. I mean, that is one of the things about games that were born on mobile. They're, by and large, pretty simple because, well, they have to develop towards that touchscreen. And touchscreen is either a really simple interface or, you got the virtual D-pad and the buttons, which not too many people like for various reasons. And because mobile design is very different than console and PC.
Absolutely.
And we here on the show have played our share of mobile ports, both decent and not so decent. Right? It happens, so you can understand the desire to start and avoid all that baggage. Anyway, so can you actually talk about the project you were developing?
We have a few different projects in the works. We have nothing that we haven't announced yet. It's mostly at the ID stage at this point. How much
Yeah.
can we say, Tony?
I don't know. Well, I mean, Dogfight we've shown.
That's true.
I'm not sure what we're gonna do with it. So we'll see. So earlier this year, at a couple of local conventions, we kind of did some playing around over the Christmas break, over the towards the end of last year, and started working on like kind of an old school 4-player co-op shoot 'em up game. Something that you can do and sit down and hang out and play on the sofa with your friends. And we made this game called Sausage Bomber, which we mentioned a few times, which we just love. I love Sausage Bomber. I love playing it. I love saying the words Sausage Bomber. I love the fact that we made a game called Sausage Bomber, and it's just sort of a fun universe that you operate in, where you have these kind of old World War II style planes that drop gigantic sausages onto targets. And so we thought it would be fun to sort of stick around that universe, and we like the visual style, and so we started making a game called Sausage Bomber Dogfight, which is a sort of side-scrolling shoot 'em up, which is cool because as many games as we've made over the years, we'd actually never ever made a shoot 'em up before. So it was really fun to do and work on, and it was really fun to show it at a couple of events and have 4 people playing at a time and sort of yelling and cheering and having fun with it. So that's one thing that we've been looking at continuing with. It's just we've sort of backburnered it in favor of just some other things we've been doing, and we've been helping some other folks out with a few different projects. So that's a candidate for what may be the next thing that we do. It could be the console game, but we're kind of looking at some other things as well that we haven't made official yet and kind of need to check with some folks about. So we're not really going to talk about now, but definitely something that we want to play with controllers and want to do something kind of multiplayer co-op, just because that's those are the games that we love. We love sort of hanging out and something you can play with your pals in the living room.
Unfortunately, we are about out of time for our interview here, so I will see if my colleagues have any final questions to wrap it up.
I think you've answered most of the questions I had.
I'm good.
All right. Well then, let me say thank you both for taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us here this week. Looking forward to seeing what you create next, and hopefully, you will find better success on consoles whenever that project is ready to be dispersed. We'll have you back on the program.
Awesome. Well, it's been super talking with you guys. Thank you so much for having us on the program.
No problem. Eddie Fan, play us to the next segment. All right, so welcome to the topic of discussion portion of the broadcast. And this week we are talking about the Smash Direct, because that happened this morning. We had a bit of back and forth whether or not we were going to do the live stream reaction deal, and we decided it was too early in the goddamn morning to bother.
Yeah, I was asleep when that happened, so...
Yeah, I missed about the first 15 minutes.
So we decided to take the time to talk about it here. So yeah, everyone here is caught up, as I understand it. So, we can go through, maybe not everything, because there was a lot. This was an interesting Smash Direct because there was a lot shown off, but there wasn't kind of a, the main event was new characters, a lot of.
Well, sort of. The most interesting and important thing for the casual consumer is that, but they did also reveal a lot about a lot of fairly intricate gameplay mechanic things that are going to be interesting.
Right, but as far as perception is, that's kind of down there in the mid-card minutia.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying it's not important, but I'm like, the big speculation going into this was something like either a Smash test or the reveal of a new subspace emissary mode.
Yeah, and all we got for that is a suspiciously pixelated, censored mode still on the main game screen. Which basically is saying, we have another game mode that is probably single-player oriented since we've done so much multiplayer that will be revealed at a later time.
Yeah, it's like they're not done.
They're bringing back Smash Tour to piss everyone off.
Smash Run actually wouldn't necessarily be...
Run was fine, but Tour was terrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, but they did go into detail about some of the multiplayer functionality. They showed up, the big news was the new characters. They led off with Simon Belmont and Richter Belmont, and Castlevania is officially being represented in the Smash Brothers. Also Luigi gets killed.
Soul ripped right out of his goddamn body.
Yeah.
It's okay, he had a one-up.
Yeah. Well, he's dead, but, he still exists. He's a literal ghost now. I'm like, I'm not sure if Nintendo's building towards something with this, because they've killed off Mario, they've killed off Luigi, Mega Man may be dead, King Dedede may be dead.
Or at least has really bad head injury.
Yeah. The newcomers have not been very kind to the existing roster.
Yeah. Yeah, people are getting murdered. and Luigi just got murdered on screen. Nintendo,
some surprisingly graphic cinematics, which have ramped up since Mario got Ridley stabbed off screen.
Yeah, it's like they're going for that T for teen rating now. They just said, "Fuck it," we got this rating, we're gonna use it. So, Luigi, you now get your soul ripped out by Death's Scythe.
Which is an item in the game that you could use and it instantly KOs any character whose damage is over a certain percentage.
I'm like, so you got Simon and Richter. Richter is the Echo Fighter. This is
as an aside thing that's relevant to this and the next couple, Echo Fighters was a really cool idea because it's a good way of them increasing the number of characters that people can play as, because some people are really attached to a character that's pretty similar to another character.
Right.
But it also by saying they're an Echo Fighter, it reduces people's expectations of how different they'll be, so that they can enjoy it more for what it is, instead of being oh, but it's just a clone of, because they're upfront about that.
Yeah, I don't think anyone Richter Belmont being an Echo Fighter makes sense, because he's a Belmont. Of course,
most of the Belmonts fight pretty similarly.
Yeah, I'm like,
they could have done Julius too.
Yeah. People were upset that Trevor didn't show up, but I'm pretty sure if Trevor were here, he'd be an Echo Fighter.
Trevor would Trevor. There will quite possibly be a Trevor color of Simon.
Possibly, the thing is, we haven't seen all of the alternate costumes.
Right.
I don't think we've seen any of the alternate costumes yet.
Not really. I'm curious as to what Dark Samus's alternate costumes are, because she does not have many colors to work with.
No, and so there were other Echo Fighters revealed. There was Crone.
Crom from Fire Emblem Awakening, who there was some curiosity as to what he was an Echo Fighter of. He seems to be Roy, which explains why he has Marth's normal combo special and Ether like Ike does, because Roy in Smash 4 is actually not a clone of Marth and has some Ike moves.
And that will be revealed at some point, because they mentioned what they're doing with the Echo Fighters, or the clones, now is they're pairing them up with the fighter they're based off of. So,
they'll be adjacent in the select menu normally, and there's an alternate menu mode for people who don't want to scroll that much. where they take up the same space and you can swap between them, like you used to be able to swap between Sheik and Zelda in Brawl. Kind of.
And I hesitate to say the biggest character reveal, but probably the most requested. King K. Rool finally showed up.
Yeah, people have been wanting another Donkey Kong Country character for a while, and he was always big on the list, especially since he hasn't been in any actual Donkey Kong Country games since 64, and there have been 2 games since then.
And they even made reference to Donkey Kong 64 in the reveal.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he has a good assortment of his abilities from all the games. He has the cannon from when he was a pirate. He has the crown throw and the basic look from when he was a king. He has the helicopter pack from when he was a mad scientist.
Yeah. He's missing the K. Rulenstein outfit currently. He's also got, the boxing glove from 64.
Yeah, I was going to say that. He does pop on the pirate hat when he uses the blunderbuss, but yeah, the K. Rulenstein outfit was rather more thorough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah,
and his final smash is Kremling Island, nuking Donkey Kong Island, which I don't remember when happened, but...
that's when you die and lose all your lives in Donkey Kong 64.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's pretty faithful to the original scene from what I remember. Granted, it's been a long time since I played Donkey Kong 64.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so, 5 characters there. Granted, 3 of them are clones, but...
Well, yeah, but it's still nice to have... I mean, I like the fact that they're Echo Fighters because it means that you can play as more people.
But also, as far as, only having a few spots left, I think this pushes up the, count to 7, 8 characters? Yeah, 8 characters.
Yeah, it depends on how they count them.
Yeah, well, including Echo Fighters, it's 8, because, half of the revealed roster, Daisy, Dark Samus, Prone, and, I'm blanking on the last one. Richter, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
They're all Echo Fighters.
Half of the revealed new... Yeah. I suspect there will probably be more Echo Fighters revealed than new characters.
It's possible. I'm not making any sort of speculations on, how many more characters we have left, but we do know that more characters are coming. They've said that. They teased that with the banner at the end.
Mm-hmm.
So there's more hype to do with this game, because it's still 4 months out.
Mm-hmm.
We may get another full-on half-hour Smash Direct.
I imagine there's going to be at least one more.
Yeah.
Where they show off the blurred thing in the main menu, and probably the last few characters.
Well, it's also I'm fully expecting a Smash test at some point. I mean, they've done this with all of their other big multiplayer.
Yeah, there will probably be a play test before the actual game launch. I mean, they already did it at E3, so we know they have at least a reasonably playable version.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, they revealed a lot, but there's still a lot left that's in the murkiness.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I really liked some of the new items and stuff that they announced, though.
Although, fuck them for bringing the Ramblin' Evil Mushroom into this.
I mean, you can turn it off. It's an item. You can turn it off.
I hated. It's just, I hated that thing in Earthbound, because it fucked with your control.
Oh, yeah, no. It's designed to be hated.
Also, assist trophies. So some big reveals here. Probably the biggest, Shovel Knight.
Yeah, Shovel Knight. Kind of zero. I mean, one of the interesting things is that so far, characters that are assist trophies are deconfirmed as fighters, which means no Zero, no Shovel Knight as a fighter. Shantae is still maybe possible. Who else did they add? They've added a bunch of
Knuckles
things.
was added.
Knuckles.
Alucard.
Oh, and actually, Shadow was not announced as an assist trophy, even though he wouldn't be new, which has led some people to speculate that he might be available as a Sonic Echo fighter.
Yeah, I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. Like, either that or if we're going to have a second Sonic character, it's probably going to be Tails or Dr. Eggman. Like,
I
The
wouldn't
reason
mind
why I-
Tails for obvious reasons.
For an actual new character, Tails or Eggman would be more likely, but
Mhm.
Shadow is the most likely to be an Echo fighter.
yeah, I can definitely see why. You know,
Because
I
he has
have
the
eyes.
same abilities, yeah.
Like, but yeah, Shovel Knight, that was something no one expected because, granted, Shovel Knight has appeared, in a lot of games. Those are indie games.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
It's
you know,
it's
this-
definitely a feather in Shovel Knight's cap as one of the
I mean,
classics.
well, to put it in perspective, this is about the highest achievements outside of becoming an actual fighter in Smash Brothers. That like the biggest or one of the biggest fighting games on the planet.
Mhm.
It's still an insult that Bomberman's an assist trophy. Like, Bomberman is a icon that spans decades and has had plenty of games and even had a comeback last year.
Mhm.
Like, he could
And
have
even Shantae's been around for longer than Shovel Knight.
Shovel Knight's only been around for less than 5 years. Like,
And it's not like I doubt that it'll age well, but
it's possible. It's just, for an indie game character, his rise to the top, as it were, has been absolutely meteoric.
yeah.
Like, there's only a few other indie characters I can think of that have achieved this level of success, like Meat Boy or Super Meat Boy or Captain Video from the Bit Trip series.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and even they haven't appeared in something as big as Smash Brothers.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure Shovel Knight will become a classic. Just he hasn't been around for that long yet.
Yeah, I think his game series, however you want to frame it, is considered to be a classic.
Mhm.
Certainly more classic than, say, Ukulele.
Mhm.
And as far as who's left, I'm like, well, first of all, don't expect Waluigi to actually appear as a fighter. I'm
He's
like,
already confirmed as an assist trophy, so far that's very unlikely.
yeah. Plus, given the fucking harassment campaign that happened out of that, that's not going to make them happy. That's not going to make them more willing to accede to your wishes.
Yeah.
Then again, granted, the people who were pushing for Ridley and K. Rool were pretty obnoxious. I don't think they got into the Twitter harassment.
Mhm.
Like, let's see. Other things, Rathalon.
Rathalos.
Rathalos as a stage bonus on a Monster Hunter stage that is apparently in, and also as an assist trophy, which hopefully can't happen at the same time because
They said they can't.
That would be very busy.
Yeah, so Monster Hunter is represented. No character was announced, but don't preclude just because they didn't announce that here, that's not in the card.
Monster Hunter is really hard to do a character of because all of your characters are ciphers who wear monster gear.
Yeah.
Granted, they can work around that. Like, I'm looking at the Pokemon trainer. Like, he's a fucking cipher, and
Yeah, but there's no well, okay, actually that's a lie because they had that one RPG where you actually can sort of train some of the monsters. So if there was going to be a Monster Hunter character, even though that didn't get released in the West, I think that would probably be the most likely character that you'd get.
well, it's also, it's Smash Brothers. For as big as it is, there's no stone obscure enough to overturn.
But I don't know. I think for Monster Hunter, at the very least, getting a stage and assist trophy, maybe another assist trophy if they have the Palicos running around and doing something.
Yeah.
Or the sea lions, whichever you're going to call them. I think Palicos is the most recent one.
Yeah, the point of order is, Monster Hunter's here as well. Like, not every game, games are still being represented even if they don't get a character. For example, one of the newest music tracks that was released was a Galaga remix. it's like
Which
obviously-
Galaga is available, I forget, maybe as one of Pac-Man's attacks.
Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah. So, but Galaga is a separate game. So,
Right.
You know, there's a lot of hell. Like I remember, people might have forgotten Rayman got into Smash with Smash Brothers 4 as a trophy,
Mhm.
just a trophy.
Just because, hey, Rayman was on this console and it was a big deal. This
Yeah.
one, yeah.
Mhm.
Rayman might get a promotion to playable character. Maybe he gets a promotion to assist trophy. I'm like, until we know, we don't know. Like, there's very little left off the table. I'm like, as far as Banjo and Kazooie, I know Microsoft wants that to happen. If that's actually going to happen, I mean, that's kind of a, Microsoft and Nintendo have worked together on Minecraft, so.
Mm-hmm. Echo Fighter of Duck Hunt Dog. I'm kidding. They work differently, but
Now, probably the most obnoxious pick left that isn't Waluigi is Goku.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think
God.
Goku is very unlikely because he's a franchise character. He's
Yeah.
not a game character. He's an anime character who has been in a lot of games of his anime.
Yeah, Goku is truly uncharted territory because he's now granted this game has the support of Namco Bandai or Bandai Namco in a lot of ways up into developing the game, the actual game, but if we're talking about getting Dragon Ball Z involved here, well, that involves getting Toei, that involves getting Toriyama, Bird Studio. There's a whole another layer of a couple layer of licensing, especially if we're, that gets into Dragon Ball music.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Oh
Although,
God.
speaking of music, how
Yeah.
the fuck are they going to fit 28 hours of music in this thing? And also, 34 tracks for Castlevania is a lot of tracks.
Castlevania has a lot of good music.
Oh, I'm not
Yes.
talking Castlevania has a lot of good music. That's just a lot of music from that specific source.
Yeah, there's 900 tracks. There's 103 stages. I'm like, this thing is just okay, this is what they mean when they say fucking ultimate.
Yeah. It's also Sakura saying, top this and also don't contact me for anything for 5 years. I need to work on something else.
I mean, you laugh, but this actually does cast a bit of a shadow over Smash Brothers because, this does feel like the culmination. This is the culmination of everything Smash, everything that came before.
Yeah, topping this will be really hard.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
after this, where the fuck do you go with Smash Brothers? That is, especially if, this is meant to be Sakurai's swan song. What do you, that's the dilemma Nintendo is facing. Because, they've never done a Smash Brothers title without Sakurai.
And he, even though he works really hard on them, he definitely would like to work on other things and not work on Smash, at least for a good long while.
I'm like, well, I mean, he's been working on Smash for about 10 years. It's like he left Nintendo. He founded his own company. He helped create the game Meteos, and then he got he's been working with Nintendo on a per game basis.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
It just happens to be that those have been a few pretty big games.
Yeah, it's like
Kid Icarus
yeah,
Uprising and then 2 Smashes.
3 Smashes.
3 Smashes.
It's like Ultimate Smash Brothers is not a fucking port. Let's get that out of the way right now.
Yeah, it's I think a lot of the game engine is still the same as 4, but they've added a lot of different modes and way more everything.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that
This is at the very least a 0.75.
Well, I think that this direct was really good in finally washing away that whole "it's a port of Wii U" and so on and so forth. And I'm like, no, or
Yes, it's a port of Wii U with twice the content of everything.
Yeah, it's like there's so much shit here that it really doesn't matter.
Also, they announced a classic mode that it's each character will have an individually tailored list of characters they fight, which on one hand it'll be slightly disappointing if the characters you want a character to fight aren't on the list that they normally get, although you can always set that up. But on the other hand, it's way better than Classic Mode in Smash 4, which basically every fight in Classic Mode in Smash 4, except for like the final boss, might as well have been a fighting whatever the fuck it is this game team. Because you're fighting a bunch of things that were released around the same time, and therefore each of them is really easy to beat. So you don't really get much of the experience of fighting the characters.
Anyway, point of order is, like, we could actually spend like another hour just breaking down all of the stuff revealed today.
Mhm.
But guys, you forgot the best Sith trophy that showed up.
Knew he was gonna fucking do that.
Bang!
I knew it.
He's gonna do the fucking voice. He's gonna do the
Chef
fucking...
Kawasaki was a good choice since Chef isn't Kirby's Final Smash anymore.
Right. I'm just saying, as soon as I saw him reveal, I'm like, oh, he's gonna do the voice somewhere, sometime.
We almost got out. We almost got out.
Also, the King K. Rool reveal is someone pointed this out in another chat I'm in. Is made a little bit the Day-to-Day tease trolling you about it.
Mm-hmm.
Day-to-Day is voiced by Masahiro Sakurai.
Right. I think I saw that.
So that is Sakurai teasing you.
Yeah. So as I said, we could go on and on about this, but we're getting low on time, so I'll wrap it up by mentioning Nintendo. They didn't mention this in the Direct, but Nintendo of Europe confirmed it afterwards that all 5 new characters will be getting their own amiibos.
Yeah,
Indeed, I think
they strongly suggested this beforehand, just that, yeah, we're making amiibos for the new characters for this game, but it has been specifically confirmed that, yes, you're getting an amiibo of Simon and Richter and King K. Rool and Chrom and Dark Samus.
Yeah, it's like any full-fledged characters, they're going to be an amiibo. Okay, I think that is a safe assumption at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, ouch, my poor wallet.
Yeah. Your wallet's over there committing suicide right now.
Well,
I am kind of disappointed that we didn't get Octoling announced as an Echo Fighter, but that's mostly because it was a Direct on 8/8/18.
I'm like, once again, can't count that out yet.
Oh no, I just think if they were going to announce it, this would have been the perfect time.
Well, and I think it's going to be more... They might try and make it later, like DLC or something, but the Octo DLC just came out.
Yeah, and that's another thing about Echo Fighters, actually. It would be really easy to do Echo Fighters as additional DLC characters. Because they have comparatively few additional things.
Yeah, because I don't think they want to put the resources into making a asset, even just for an Echo Fighter, if nobody liked the Octo DLC.
Mm.
Spoilers, everybody liked the Octo DLC.
But
Right.
you know what I mean.
I know, they didn't. They wouldn't have known that necessarily in advance, but
Yeah.
It went over really well.
And they might be in the process of making that. I doubt it's going to be ready in time for them to be pressing cartridges.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Anyway, I think we'll leave it there until the next Smash Direct, or because I'm pretty sure there's going to be another.
I'm honestly 100% sure there will be at least one more.
Yeah. It's
So
like
how
this-
much longer until my Captain N fan fiction comes to life?
It's
I mean,
pretty much come
I
to
mean,
life
just-
here.
I mean, just pretend Captain Falcon is Captain N, and you've got most of the team.
Yeah, I'm like,
You've got Simon and Mega Man and Pit.
If
Guess I'll just have to make a me fighter about Kevin.
I'm like,
too.
you also got Samus, who was in the comic. You got Link, who was in season 2. Like, the only people I'm missing are the original characters and Game Boy. Yeah.
could you imagine if as a troll they added those and be like, nope, we're done. Internet over.
Just
You're
pretend
you're
Rob-
not
just
missing
pretend
anything
Rob
not having Game Boy.
No, just pretend Rob is Game Boy or Mr. Game & Watch.
Yeah, I'm like, there are suitable analogs to the rest of the Captain N crew.
I forget, is there a Mother Brain Assist trophy?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
They showed it
Uh-huh.
off in the trailer.
And I think
So-
she's also a stage boss.
Like, I guess we're still lacking Eggplant Wizard and Dr. Wily and
Oh, wow.
Dr. Wily is is in the game insofar as one of the bosses is his castle and he makes you fight the fucking Yellow Devil.
The
Yeah.
Eggplant Wizard was already in the game.
It might be in like 8-bit form in some stage.
Alright.
I think it might be a stage hazard. I don't think it's an assist trophy.
All right. Anyway, so that'll about do it for this installment of Fragments of Silicon. Coming up on the week ahead on the Sunday reviews, we've got Unavowed, the latest adventure game from Wadjet Eye, like Xenon Valkyrie, a roguelike platformer game, which is pretty fun, but kind of slippery in the control. And Pode, which we did an interview about yesterday. And if you haven't listened to that, you can go check it out in our archives. And coming next week, on Tuesday, August 14th, we'll be having Ross Bierley of Ghostlight Games on the program again. Been a while since we've had him on. They've released a couple of games, Sorcery Saga and Mary Skelter, both of which we've reviewed. Anyway, it's always a good time when we have Ross on the program. So I'm looking forward to that. And on August 15th, our season 9 finale, we'll be having, or we're supposed to be having, Andrew Should-Dice of Finji. Still haven't gotten confirmation from Finji yet. We're going to be talking about primarily the game Tunic. If you don't remember what this is, that was one of the bigger indie titles shown at Microsoft's conference at E3, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Really striking title. Looking forward to hearing about it. So anyway, until next time, I wish you good gaming.